Let's get more on this debate now. Joining us is American political observer Dr. David Smith from the US Studies Centre. David, it's a lot easier said than done, isn't it, when it comes to tightening gun laws in America, because there is certainly a very vocal, a very loud lobby when it comes to the pro-gun groups saying that we don't need these changes.
Absolutely. And even if Obama is sincere and is serious about taking action to curb guns in the United States, he has to get it through Congress. And that is likely to be very difficult. In the past, it's something he's actually used as an excuse after other previous mass shootings this year to say that he wouldn't even try. So if he is going to attempt serious gun control measures, something along the lines of banning certain types of magazines or even banning certain types of guns, he is going to face a very, very difficult political struggle through Congress.
The statistics really are alarming. Apparently, just last month alone, in November, 2 million gun permit applications were filed to the Federal Bureau in America of Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms. The sort of constitutional right here to bear arms, that's something, of course, that the pro-gun lobby holds up as being, you know, the be-all and end-all when it comes to gun laws. How would Barack Obama even go about this process? He said in that speech there, we're left with hard questions. This is how the nation is going to be judged as to how our children are protected. Do you feel that this is enough of a tipping point in terms of the Congress that he faces to actually make a difference, or are we just going to see tinkering around the edges?
It's very hard to say. I mean, you would think that if not now, then reform will never happen. Now, there's a telling incident this morning when Jason Chaffetz, who's a very prominent young conservative rising star within the Congress, told the media that he thinks there needs to be a discussion about what he called the intersection of lethal weaponry and mental health. So he was possibly hinting at support for laws which would actually restrict firearms to people with backgrounds of mental health problems. Just a few hours later, he then actually walked that statement back and said that he doesn't support any new federal laws. And I mean, that's the kind of opposition that Obama is actually going to face. That is, even Republicans who might be in favour of gun control in the House are going to face such serious pressure within their own party. They have to stand for re-election every 2 years, and they have to face competitive primaries potentially every 2 years, where the National Rifle Association will put up their ratings of every congressman on how gun-friendly they are, and they will face the possibility of actually losing Republican primaries if they support new gun control laws. So this is the kind of opposition Obama is going to face. I don't think there's a constitutional problem with implementing new gun control laws. The Second Amendment doesn't say that everyone has the right to military-style assault weapons. Automatic weapons like machine guns are banned at the federal level in the United States, and nobody is clamouring to get those back. But the US has a real problem at the moment of people with these arsenals of semi-automatic weapons. And in this case, tragically, it was the mother of the shooter, who was a gun enthusiast, who had collected all of these military-style assault weapons. He took those weapons from her arsenal, killed her first, then went and killed her students. And if this event doesn't provide recognition that the right of anyone to amass a private arsenal should not outweigh everybody else's right to live in safety, then I don't know what can. So I would hope that even with this Congress, that Obama's political will actually hold up to try to initiate some kind of gun reform. But we really need to be realistic about the kind of political obstacles that this faces. They are absolutely formidable.
And the President describing Friday, when this happened US time, as the most difficult day of his presidency. We know that there are others who are really pushing for this. We've seen that Dianne Feinstein, the chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, has already got some legislation ready to go. But it looks like they're talking about bringing in this legislation, if it got passed, not retroactively but prospectively, which could as well bring up, of course, more issues with, you know, guns then going on the black market, and there's a lot of different areas to consider when you go through this gun law reform process.
Absolutely. I mean, the practical obstacles are really difficult. When John Howard implemented the buyback scheme in Australia, there weren't that many people out there who really had semi-automatic weapons. In the United States, 60% of gun owners have at least one semi-automatic weapon. So there are, tens of millions of people out there with these kinds of weapons that might get targeted by federal legislation. Now, obviously, that is a lot harder to implement any kind of ban or buyback scheme when ownership of semi-automatic weapons is so prevalent. And what gun owners and what the gun lobby always says is that this would just be violating the rights of the vast majority of gun owners who are completely responsible in the way that they use their semi-automatics. But of course, there's a much bigger question here, which is why does anyone in civilian life actually need to have a rifle or a pistol that was designed only with the purpose of inflicting large numbers of casualties on the battlefield? But yes, certainly, even if there was legislation, the practical obstacles would be really great. And for a long time, the gun lobby has actually used this as an argument against gun control, saying, well, the criminals will still have access to these weapons because there are so many of these weapons out there.
Dr. David Smith from the US Studies Centre, we do appreciate your insights as always. Some tough questions for America to be considering after this massacre.